analysis of the testimony, and Emily is here to give it. But before that, I just have to tell you, there are prime ministers in the House, there's Secret Service, we have a powerhouse lineup coming up. So please stay tuned, and we love you watching the testimony and coming in. And as I said at the outset, this is a hell of a day to have a women's conference. So what do you think?
Well, so first of all, I feel like we're all kind of processing this together, and I'm curious about what the room thinks too. You know, I think Kavanaugh gave an effective opening statement. He clearly had heard the instructions from President Trump to be more angry and indignant, and he put himself into that. Watching just that part and then thinking about Dr. Ford this morning reminded me of what has felt like a couple times as a reporter. I've interviewed a woman who's made a sexual assault allegation, an allegation of rape, and then I've interviewed the man she accused, and they have both looked me in the eye and with utter sincerity given an account that they just can't be squared. Like, one person's telling the truth and one person's not. And it's really, really, I didn't feel in either situation that based on just listening to them, I could tell what had happened.
What is it with the crying? I've been seeing, you know, reports about this of him crying. Is that unexpected? Is this something that you think will affect things in any way? And just what happened there?
Right. Well, it was very emotional. I think this is it for him. This is the job he's wanted for however many years, and he was going to put himself into it and let himself be vulnerable if that was what it took. I think there are a lot of men in the Republican base who feel that he's been smeared, and for whom that will be a kind of righteous moment that he's claiming that he's the victim here and kind of taking that away from Blasey Ford. Politically speaking, it was probably a smart thing for him to do, and that doesn't mean he doesn't really feel that way. I'm just thinking about the politics. I also think it makes this day incredibly divisive. It's really hard to see how many people's minds are really going to be changed and how the country is going to come to any kind of consensus. And that is troubling, just in terms of how we all move forward.
Do we know, I mean, there's still a hearing scheduled tomorrow. This is not going to be delayed. This is going to just play out until it plays out?
I suppose. I mean, I think this really is all up to Senators Collins, Murkowski, and Flake. I would say they're the ones who are really in play, and if they are ready to vote tomorrow morning, I think there'll be a vote tomorrow morning. I don't think that Trump will pull this nomination. I don't think the support is going to soften all that much. I mean, I should say we're not done yet, and more can happen. I have found Kavanaugh to be less effective in answering some of the questions. I don't know how many other people here feel that way, but I think there are questions about his veracity when he starts talking about his drinking and his the kind of culture he was a part of in high school and college. It really doesn't match up with a lot of accounts. But I don't know how much how these three senators are going to make up their minds.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about Dr. Blasey Ford's testimony this morning? It was riveting. This whole day has riveted the nation. What is your assessment? How did she do?
I don't think she could have done any better. I mean, I think she was a credit to herself that her whole professional identity was on display, and I mean that in a good way. It was kind of amazing to watch her both testify and, as a psychologist, analyze her own experience. That's not something I'll forget soon. So, you know, the problems, and I don't think they're problems for her. The problems for the decision makers here are the kind of lack of corroboration, of direct corroboration that this gathering took place. And I think if the undecided senators decide to confirm Kavanaugh, that's what they'll say, that they just didn't think there was enough proof to derail him. And then people who don't think he should be a justice will say, but wait a second, these questions about his truth-telling, you know, telling the truth, judging the truth are the most important qualities for a Supreme Court justice, and we shouldn't take this risk here.
In terms of corroborating her story, did she perhaps make a mistake by not identifying the friend who brought her to the party? Is that a vulnerability for her?
Yeah, I wonder if that person should come forward. I don't know who he or she is, and coming forward right now in the middle of this is a difficult thing to do personally. But if there's somebody who drove her to that gathering and remembers doing that, it sort of feels like, as an act of friendship as well as citizenship, this is the moment to step forward and say so. That was a kind of loose end, really the only kind of loose end, new piece of information, loose end in her testimony, I think.
Do any of you have any questions? We have a couple of minutes. I have plenty, but and what have we learned from him today that's new? I mean, we've had the yearbook story, a lot more about drinking, and just a certain issue of truthfulness. Whatever happened specifically, is he being more truthful today than he was previously? Has he kind of updated some of those earlier denials?
I'd say he's doing that a little bit, but not in a way that is, at least to me, all that different or meaningful. What surprised me was how partisan his opening was. The sort of, fury at the Democrats. Now, he couldn't express that fury safely against Blasey Ford, and he needed some target for his kind of victimhood rage, but judges have to be nonpartisan, and that felt very partisan that moment. I'm not sure how troubling that will be to the Republican senators who, control his destiny, but it was really striking. I don't think I've ever seen a judicial candidate take that kind of, angry pose toward the other party so directly at a moment like this.
So, Emily, what do you think is going to happen? As we asked Brett earlier, we put him on the spot. I don't know if we put you on the spot. If you had to predict, are we going to be seeing a vote tomorrow? Are we going to be seeing a delay? If there's a delay, does that mean the whole nomination is in trouble?
I think they're going to go, oh man, can I just say first, I've been wrong about, I didn't think this testimony was going to happen. I thought this testimony was too damaging politically for the Republicans, and they were going to pull him. And I continue to be confused by the politics in the sense that there are other folks who can do the job of Supreme Court justice in a very conservative fashion who aren't trailing all of these accusations. So I'm going to answer Rebecca's question, but just now I'll be wrong in front of all of you. That's fine. I don't think they'll delay this vote. I think they're going to just go for it because things are not getting better for them, and they don't want an investigation. Another part of this I find, to weigh against Kavanaugh's credibility. And I think they're just going to force Murkowski and Collins and, I guess, Flake, too, to take this vote and hope that the base will fear of the base will pull them through. And we are having this intense moment in which, two of the three senators in play are women deciding the fate of another woman all these years after Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. It's either tragedy or farce. I'm not sure which.
Please join me in thanking Emily for your analysis.